Alright, now we're going to be talking about the mid-tier and the top tier and the ultra top tier of rifles. Now, what I mean about those, I mentioned it in one of the prior videos, but I'll mention it again. A mid-tier I consider is a rifle around $800 to around $1,200. Top tier rifles I think fit into $1,200 to about $2,000. Maybe a little bit more. And the ultra top tier, most of those are at least $3,000. You might can find one around $2,500 or so, but usually they're around $3,000 and up for those ultra top tiers. So some of the brands that would fit into this, into the what I'd call the mid tier. Colt, Spikes Tactical, SIG, FN, Armalite, some of the Rock Rivers, and the premium lines from Palmetto State Armory, which, as I mentioned in a prior video, this is a premium build. And one of the big things about the mid-tier, this is usually where full mil spec begins. This is where you're going to find the rifle that has the proper mil spec buffer tubes, and proper mil spec barrels. Basically, this is where mil spec, the true to mil spec rifles start. Now, you also start to get more options and features available here. Customized furniture from like Magpul and other companies. You can start seeing rifles that come with that from the factory as well in this price range. Now, as you know, any options added to the rifle are going to start affecting price. So while I can get maybe the top tier of Palmetto State, which would be like this, it usually would come with basic furniture on it, and I'd have to either spend a little bit more to purchase my own furniture for it, or I can pay a little bit more and it'll come with it. So, and free floating, you can start seeing free floating in this price range as well, though it'll tend to be on the higher end of this price range. And that's basically it for mid-tier. As I said, this is what I would consider the start of the mil spec rifles, full mil spec rifles. Now on to top tier rifles. Some examples of top tier rifles would be BCM, Daniel's Defense, and even Knight's Armament. They have some rifles that are around the $2,000 range as well. So here you're going to be spending more. You're going to be spending about $1,200 to $2,000. Most complete BCM rifles I see start around $14,000 to $15,000, or $1,400 to $1,500, and go up to about $2,000. This tends to be where they top out at. Daniel's Defense is very similar in price range. One of the benefits of Bravo Company, though, is you can buy a lower separately and an upper separately and spend less, because you can get a basic setup from them for about $1,000. So that actually fits down into the mid-tier price range. But it is a basic carbine. It's actually one of the more expensive basic rifles. This rifle that's set up here, upper was bought separately from the lower, is around $1,300 before I added sights and optics to it. So why do these rifles cost more, even though they're, like I said, you can get a BCM, a basic BCM it costs the upper end of the mid-price range, and I have to put it together. I can't even get it as a complete rifle. Well, The reason is usually quality control reasons. They will have, most all companies have to source at least some of their parts, if not a lot of their parts, from other outside vendors. Because they don't do the manufacturing themselves. They have a company that specializes in manufacturing that particular kind of thing, do it for them. They just demand it be done at a certain specifications. Usually these companies demand higher standards, tighter specifications to the parts they have, where the mil spec may require a range of, 10,000ths of an inch between minimum and maximum. They may demand that the manufacturer stay within 5,000ths of an inch. So since the manufacturer has to go to a higher standard, it's more expensive to produce those parts because they're going to have larger numbers of rejects. So that cost is transferred to the company that is getting the parts, and then it's transferred to the person buying the parts. Another reason why these rifles can cost more is name recognition. They have built a reputation on having high quality rifles, so they can charge a little bit more for their rifles simply on their reputation. And usually these rifles have very well earned reputations. BCM, Daniels Defense, definitely earned a good reputation. Knight's Armament has earned a reputation because they do they do make a few actual military use rifles. Usually those are some precision rigs for that they give out. The SR25, I believe is what it's called. So that is why these will tend to cost more. Attention to detail will also be a little bit bigger. They will, during the assembly, they will be much more focused on the little details, and that adds up to time and money. So they'll make double sure that the castle nut is staked properly, the gas key is staked properly, that the flash hider is clocked properly as it's supposed to be, and it's just a little bit more attention to detail and quality control tends to go into these rifles, and that costs money. And it's just generally it's a peace of mind that you're getting a rifle that will function and that you will not have any problems with it down the line. And they also tend to have good warranties and take care of their customers as well. So if they do have problems, and having a good quality control and having a good customer service are expenses. Now, you also start to get more options in this price range. A lot of the BCM stuff comes standard free floated already. They only offer like a couple models that aren't free floated, and they're just their basic line. You start getting special designed furniture, stocks, and pistol grips. BCM, this is their design for a stock and a pistol grip. And BCM even has their own design for their for a free float tube. This is not one of theirs. This is actually Midwest Industries. They just laser etched it with their logo. But they do have their own. So that's another reason you're going to start spending a little bit more just for the extra features. Now, that'll lead us on into the ultra top tier. As I said, $2,500 and up, usually at least $3,000. So what are a couple brands that are in there? LaRue and Wilson Combat are what I would consider ultra top tier. They $3,000 or more for one of their rifles. They are very well built. They only source the best parts, the best barrels. When they put them together, they take all the little extra steps that are needed to make sure everything is lined up properly and perfectly to get the best accuracy out of the rifle. Usually their rifles tend to be precision focused. Not that they can't be used as a standard carbine, it's just that they set their rifles up with the attention to detail and the quality of barrels and parts that you would expect for a precision rifle. And that adds up to money. I do not own an ultra top tier rifle. One, because they are very expensive, and two, for me personally, after you get above the top tier line, after you spend about $1,500–1,600 on an AR, the extra quality and extra performance that you get per dollar more you spend starts to decrease rapidly. And to me, it's just not above that. It's just not worth it. I don't need all that fanciness and extra precision of a LaRue or a Wilson, because I am not a top level shooter. I'm not going to be able to go out and tell the difference between two different lots of identical brand ammo just because they shoot a little bit differently. They print a little differently. I can't do that. I can shoot decent groups, even very good groups, out at 100 yards with a scope, but I am not a top level bench shooter by no means. So for me, the accuracy and performance of the top tier line, BCM and Daniels Defense, is where I would be. That's where I stop. So from here on, we're going to be going on to the next video, because that's about all I can really say about the ultra top tier stuff. They're very well made, very accurate, very expensive rifles. So for the next video, we're going to start on some accessory do's and don'ts for plinking and a defense or combat focused rifle, something that you would take to, say, a rifle course. We will talk about other uses and ways of setting up rifles in other videos as well.